I can think of a few events in Alabama where a man waking up from a long coma could immediately know where he was just by looking up at the sky. The Alabama Jubilee hot air balloon rally is one of those events. Through this gray morning fog, it's hard to imagine what a tapestry of colors this field is about to blossom into. For 30 years now, balloon pilots and starry-eyed onlookers from all over have been gathering here in this field in Decatur. It might surprise you how much effort goes into a successful balloon launch. First, the pilots are briefed on weather conditions.
The briefing I got out of flight service about 5 o'clock was we've got high pressure dominating, there's no flight advisories. Decatur weather at that time was clear with 7 miles visibility, the surface winds were calm.
Then each crew scrambles to unpack their balloons. After that, the balloons are inflated by huge gas-powered fans. Now it's time to fire up the burners. One last check on all the equipment and riggings. All clear and ready for liftoff. Ken Garner is a balloon pilot. The hobby got into his blood the first time he came to the Alabama Jubilee as a spectator. That was 30 years ago. Ken fought the balloon urge for a while, but in the end, what else could he do? He gave in to it. Ken was nice enough to share his balloon and God's sky with us this morning. It's been said that when you're in a hot air balloon, it's easy to get the impression that the balloons are sitting completely still, that it's the houses and fields beneath that seem to be moving. From this vantage point, it's hard to argue that.
You know, it's just the love of flying. I think my mom said that when I was in her arms, when an airplane would go over, I'd automatically look up and watch it. You form a bond. It's more like a family gathering than it is just a bunch of pilots. You get your first flight, which your first flight a lot of times is free, and then your second flight is $25,000 because you bought the balloon and everything to go along with it. So it was the advent of several of us getting in the community and flying and getting the excitement built up in Decatur. And we were actually named the hot air balloon capital of Alabama. I can actually remember the first Jubilee, and my first thoughts where I saw two guys come over the Flint Creek there, and they came across and they topped the tree out, and I went running out and I grabbed the basket, and I'm thinking, what are these guys doing? But you know, little did I know that I would actually be one of those guys doing that in 6 or 8 years.
While the balloon is in the air, she's at the mercy of the wind. It's almost impossible to know where the fickle winds might choose to set her down. So each balloon has a chase crew on the ground, following to be there when it lands. Lee Johnson is part of Ken's crew. He's chased these balloons all over the Decatur countryside for the past 29 years.
I kind of miss the way we used to do it. We had his Jeep Scrambler, and we'd all pile in there, be hanging off that thing, you know, and everybody just having a good time. As you get older, creature comforts are a little bit nice to have. You know, you come in, you're hot and sweaty, and you reach over and flip the air on, where we used to take and just drive that Jeep a little faster.
I noticed that even after all the balloons had landed safely and were tucked away back on their trailers, that the crowds didn't thin out at all. In fact, they were filing in faster than ever. It seems that people come for the balloons, but they stay for all the other things that the Alabama Jubilee serves up. The live music and the antique tractors and the food and the kiddie rides. The shades of gray that hung over the field when we arrived this morning have returned 14 hours later. The balloons have returned too. This time they're not gearing up for flight. They've come back to treat thousands of spectators to a showy rush of color and light and sound. The evening balloon glows are a crowd favorite around here. If you've ever been moved by the beauty of fireflies dancing over a summer field at dusk, imagine fireflies in all the colors of the rainbow and 5 stories high. That's the balloon glow. No doubt this event is and always has been about the balloons, but the crowds, I suspect, are here for something else. Something that's getting harder and harder to find these days. A sense of community and the ability to gather with other good people and to celebrate a tradition like this one that stood the test of time.
They do this year after year. We've got folks that come back. They were teenagers when they first started coming out here, and now they're married and got kids of their own.